I'm going to take you on a journey. I bought this watch on eBay from Pakistan. It took almost a month to get here. However, it intrigued me not only for the parts, but just the ideal of the journey. This watch was made in the 1970s, so there's just absolutely no telling where this watch has been and what stories this watch could tell. Even to make the video more interesting is the fact that we took these parts and made this beautiful watch out of it. The dial is what drew me to the watch. The idea that this watch was built in the 1970s and that citizens were primarily sold in Asia at that time. They had not made it to the United States. So that's a fascinating point. But when I got to looking at the watch, after I took it apart, you could see that the dial face was damaged. And that broke my heart. I was really hoping that watch face was in working order, but this movement had been serviced at some point. You could see some markings in the inner side of the case that lets people know that this had been serviced. And at some point, someone had bent the hands on the watch, and it had dug into the watch face. So that broke my heart. But the case and all of the parts were pretty good, except obviously the movement was worn out. It's 50 years old, and it absolutely could have been rebuilt. But there were some parts missing, and one of the hour hands is missing, and they weren't original to begin with. So this started the journey, and we started sourcing parts and trying to find new parts, and this is where the actual journey began. I like first to wind the new movement and let it run for, several hours, if not an entire day. And, it's a new movement. If you want to let it break in and get the oils moved around, and then you can put it on the time grapher and do your fine tuning to make this movement, it's the Miyota 8205, absolutely as accurate as, pretty much any advanced movement today. I constantly hear this on some of the YouTube channels where they will assume that because you buy a Miyota or a Seiko movement, like an NH35 Seiko or a Miyota 8205, that they're somehow not accurate. When you buy these movements, they are unadjusted. They are within specs, but they're not adjusted. And if you want to get that, super accurate movement, you just need to take a little time, let the unit break in, and then put it on the time graph and do your final adjustments. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I think it's worth saying. Before I start working on the watches, I demagnetize all of my tools and also demagnetize the movement itself. To get these type readings, you've got to do the little things. I find most new movements have low amplitude, and some people would say that's poor watch health, but what I find is as you let the watch break in over, say, a month or so, you can come back and find the amplitude to be quite higher, or you can also reservice the watch and see your amplitude jump up into the 280s to 300s. I was disappointed that the original watch face was scratched, but you make the best out of it. And I found this OEM nice silver watch face and decided to make the build a kind of a classy semi-dress watch with a nice gloss leather band, something you'd be comfortable wearing to church. So this is a time that you have to be very patient and turn the dial over the date as it flips to the next day. Be very gentle. And as soon as it flips into place, you stop. And that's when it's time to start installing your hands to the 12 o'clock position. I love a high quality watch, and I love the story of how Citizen made its way to the United States. During the 1970s, of Vietnam was going on, and it was very common for service members to buy a quality watch, and Citizens got the name in Asia, in that part of the world, for being no nonsense and high quality. They would just take a beating, and service members would purchase these watches while overseas, either in Japan or Korea or in Vietnam, and then they would bring them home, and they would need to have these watches serviced every 4 or 5 years. So that got the watches into the watchmakers to have them service them, and then obviously they recognized the quality. Once the salesman for Citizen made it to the United States, the brand was already pretty well recognized because service members had purchased these watches and had bragged on them so much about how good they held up in extreme circumstances. I really love how this watch case works with the silver dial that I found. It just it's very classy, and again, with a black leather gloss band, it's going to just be a very comfortable watch to wear in church or a more formal setting, but it can also be, it's very business oriented as well. If you change the watch band to a brown leather watch band, matted finish, would really make this watch a very nice outdoorsy watch. And because of what kind of watch it is, it would definitely hold up to that use. Or you could use a nylon strap, like a military watch band, and make it more like a field watch. So just the band that you use can change the whole perception of the watch and what the watch is for. I found this clear back on eBay. It's an OEM Citizen, and it lets you look into the back of the case and see all the movements. You can even find aftermarket rotor weights if you want colored and have them personalized, because there's so many of these watches made. I also took the time to laser engrave the watch band. I thought that was just a little touch, and in the future we'll get more into that. I think it turned out so classy. I appreciate your comments and your thoughts.